So, hi everyone. My name is Manish, and I'm the trainer. Which I have around 15 plus years of experience. I have worked with multiple organizations. So let me share my screen and show my profile to you guys. So is my screen visible? Can anyone confirm?
Yes.
Yes, easy.
Okay, so here is my career snapshot or the experience snapshot. So I have around more than 14 plus years of experience. I have worked with multiple organizations in past, like HCL, IBM, Fujitsu, Edison, and Wipro. My major skills on which I have worked is basically related to the Azure cloud. Especially in last 7 to 8 years, I spend most of the time while working with the technologies related to the Microsoft cloud services, which mostly includes Azure Cloud DevOps, not the DevOps, but I would say Azure DevOps, Terraform, Windows administrations, and AKS, which is Azure Kubernetes Services. I have conducted lots of trainings and webinar, online and offline both. Usually, my friend call me Manny. And these are the certifications which I have completed, and these are the active certifications for me. So I have completed all these certifications, which is AZ 104, 305, 700, 500, and 400. So all belongs to different cloud services which Microsoft offers. So as I told you, like it all, my most of the skill belongs to the cloud services. So that's all from my end. From my snapshot about it. Okay, so before we jump into the course content, like what we are going to learn in this training, I just need your help to help me understand what is your background is, so that it will give me an understanding like how we need to conduct the training and how we need to take it through. So if you guys can just explain me, not in that much, just 1 or 2 line, like what is your background, what is your experience in IT or in cloud, that would be helpful for me. So can we do that? So here the content which we are going to learn in the course. Okay. So first, in the module 1, we are going to talk about what is Azure Cloud, right? And why is it different, or what are the difference from the other cloud providers? So it's not just the Azure, we have other cloud providers as well, right? Then, of course, we are going to learn how to sign up or sign in. Although this is not something which you guys don't know, because you guys are also experienced. I mean, enough experience, I would say, to create your sign up or to register yourself into the Azure portal. But I will walk you through like how to do that. Then in the module 2, we will start basically with the Azure architecture, I mean the data center architecture, because it is really important. When we talk about the cloud, so we talk about a kind of infrastructure which is not visible to us. In cloud, everything is on web, and there is nothing visible to us. Nothing visible to us means the hardware layer of the entire data center is not visible to us. So we are going to understand like how the Microsoft is basically keeping the data center, and it is purely based on the information which is shared by the Microsoft. So because it's in cloud, you do not have control on the infrastructure. To be very clear, if anybody says like I have control or I have seen the data center, I have worked on the directly data center, then I would not say it's not true, because the it's only managed by the Microsoft. Okay. Then during this process, after this process, we'll talk about the virtual machines. It is one of the most widely used services in the cloud, no matter which cloud you are working, whether you are AWS, Google, or Azure. Virtual machines is the one where you need to learn. Okay. So we are going to talk about the virtual machines, and then we are also going to learn about how to host a website. Now, why I add this how to host a website or a virtual machine is that because when it comes to the cloud, so when you start your journey in the cloud, so always remember, guys, cloud is not only about a Windows administrator or a Linux administrator or a database administrator or a network administrator. Cloud is basically the combination of everything. So when I started the cloud and I started working for a company, so they basically told me like you are everyone, everything. Like I am the one who need to supposed to understand the database. I'm the one who need to supposed to understand the network, who need to supposed to understand the application, supposed to understand the database, everything, right? So that is why we are going to take this approach. It's not because this is the enterprise approach, like how the companies basically work. Okay. So that's why I start, I added this particular part where I'm going to tell you, guys, of course, I'm not going to teach you the code because there is no code in the training. We are not doing develop or we are not going to write any code. But yes, we are going to spend time. What we'll do, we'll simply download a code from the internet, the code which is already available in the internet, and we'll just host the website because that's what you as an administrator supposed to do that. So the application team of your team is going to connect with you and they will ask you like, okay, boss, we have developed a kind of application. I need your help to host that application. Okay, then in module three, we are going to spend time on the network. So that's the very crucial part of the cloud because when you are going to work with the multiple virtual machines and multiple other services, then it is really important to understand how those services or how those multiple virtual machines are interacting with each other, how they are connected with each other, how we can understand and we can go ahead and restrict the connection. So for example, if I have virtual machine 1, virtual machine 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and out of that, I want virtual machine 1 and 2 should not be interacting with virtual machine 5 and 6. Then I also need to know how I can restrict that communication. Plus, once will so this part is basically covers the networking within the Azure cloud. So within the Azure cloud, how services are basically communicating with each other. This is where we are going to learn. And later on, there is another extended version of the networking, which is we need to understand how the services which are running inside the Azure, they are going to communicate with the outside world. So which means if the services running inside the Azure and you also have a services running inside your another cloud, for example, Google Cloud or AWS or any other on-premises site. So how you can establish the connectivity with the services which are not running in your Azure, which are outside. So basically, it's about how we are going to connect the outside services from the Azure. Then we are going to spend some time on learning security. So security is important because nowadays, if any company, if you ask any company, they are there are only two aspects of the cloud services or in fact overall infrastructure they are going to spend. One is data and another is security. So nobody would like to take a chance on the data and their security. So we'll explore the different security options available we have, how we can secure our network at the Azure level. Okay, we'll spend some time on the firewall, we'll spend some time on the NSG. So how we can secure the network connectivity or how we can secure the traffic is what we are going to learn inside this module. Then another part is going to deal with the load balancing. So load balancing is again a very important topic. And why is it important? Because as I told you, like when you are going to work in a Azure, so you have to manage everything. Anything which is going to come inside the Azure, the expectation is like you should manage everything. So the load balancing basically deals with the application. So when you have, as I told you, like when we have hosted the application here. So imagine when you have a application which is running inside the Azure, and that application is complaining like it is running slow, or that application server is going to get crashed, then how we are going to deal with that situation? So load balancing is going to help us to deploy a solution or to deploy a kind of service where we are going to load balance the traffic, which means we are going to achieve the high availability. We are going to achieve the load balancing of the traffic, so that no one virtual machine or no one hosted service get lots of load. So it's all about whatever the traffic is coming, we are going to learn how we can distribute the traffic in a manner that it should not, exhaust the resources of one particular domain or services. Okay. So after spending time on the load balancing, we will move towards the storage account. So as I told you, just guys, just give me a minute. It is at my door. Just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, so in module 7, we are going to talk about the storage solutions. So as I told you, like data and the security, these are the two components like every organization is, very much concerned about. So in this module, we are going to understand how we can keep our data into the Azure. So storage account is basically a kind of service where the data is going to be kept. So how the Azure is going to help us to keep our data into the storage account. This is what we are going to learn. Then in module 8, again, it is related to the data, because if you are keeping the data into your Azure, then Azure also says you need to configure the backup as well. So in any case, if due to any reason, if you forget or if you lost your data, then you must have a backup in place so that you can replace it. So that is what we are going to understand in the back, like how we are going to set up the backup and how we are going to restore it. So when something gets failed or something is not available and we need to retrieve our data from the backup, then it is what we are also going to learn in this module. Then in the module 9, we are going to talk about, so see guys, till module 8, we have learned, I would say, the basic. Okay. In module 9, we are just going to little complex, or I would say little advanced topic, which is the hosting of application on a serverless. So here we are going to learn about the Azure App Service. What is Azure App Service? Okay, it's a cloud version of the serverless application. Then we are also going to learn about the microservices. So microservices, you must have heard a word nowadays, Kubernetes and Docker, right? So what is the Docker? What is Kubernetes? Basically AKS, how we can create AKS, how we can host application inside this. So we are going to cover into this. So of course, we are not going to cover into the advanced level, because at an advanced level, these are again a separate course. There is a separate course where we cover Docker and AKS in a very in detail and advanced level. So, but yes, I will give you enough understanding and I will share enough knowledge on this topic. Like whenever you are after completing this, if you are going to hear a word AKS or the Docker, so you would have a good understanding like, okay, this is what they are talking about. This is what they are expecting us. Okay. Then the next module is going to deal with the monitor, where we are going to discuss about the monitoring. So monitoring is important, and why is it important? Because when you are working with multiple services, then of course not everything is going to work every time. So there are some, because these are machines, these are services. So there are many services, there are many machines which might get failed. So as an administrator, you are not going to keep your monitor on all the time and you always keep checking, okay, everything is working fine or not. So we need a kind of method, we need a kind of mechanism where we should be get alerted if anything goes wrong according to the defined threshold. So for example, if you have a virtual machine, and if or maybe if you have a mailbox, right, and if your mailbox is about to fill, about to consume all the spaces, or your virtual machine, or even your laptop, right? If your laptop drive, the C drive or the D drive is going to completely fill, okay, then you need a kind of alert. So we need someone to tell us, like, okay, boss, the space is going to be filled. The CPU utilization is very high for this particular application. The RAM utilization is very high. The disk utilization is very high. So these are the kinds of alerts we needed. If so that instead of taking care of by manually, instead of checking everything manually, we have a automated way of knowing, like, if there is something wrong with the services which we are running. So for example, if somebody shuts down the virtual machine, or there is any virtual machine which gets automatically restarted or shut down, so we need a kind of alert, like, okay, something wrong happened with that particular service. So we are going to learn how to configure the alert and how to set up these monitoring. Then in the model 11, we are going to talk about the authentication. Now, authentication is very important because when we talk about authentication, so Azure is basically a kind of infrastructure where we are hosting application, where we are hosting network, where we are hosting databases, storage, lots of other services. But understanding about the authentication is really important, because if you do not have a control who is going to access what service, then it will be a difficult. So we are going to learn who is going to access what kind of authorization, what kind of authentication we have available in the module. Although let me tell you, this authentication, or I would say the Entra ID or the Azure ID, it is again a separate course because it has a very wide module to cover. So it's not just the authentication. Entra ID has lots of other features as well. So it is all about the authentication. But yes, we are going to get enough understanding which is required for our course, so that if anybody asks us, do you know anything about authentication or authorization? So we must have a clear understanding, like, yes, we know what is authentication and what is authorization, which service is going to help us on that. And then lastly, we are going to spend some time on the Azure policy and the initiative. So policy and initiative is something which is, I would say, not much technically to do it here. It is mostly related to the business people. So if you are working for an organization and your organization has decided, like, okay, nobody in my Azure, it's in just I'm talking about the Azure, nobody in the Azure cloud will be deploy a particular virtual machine. Nobody in my Azure should be create a particular services into any particular region, or nobody will use the public IP. So these are the things. So as I told you, like, there is not much technical to do it here. But yes, if your management, if your business decides to implement something across the Azure, then we are going to create a policy. So we'll understand how to create the policy, how to create the initiative, what is the difference between policy and the initiative. But as I told you, this is something which is mostly related to the business decision. You are not going by yourself and do it anything here. You are the technical executioner. You will be told, like, okay, boss, I would like to implement this policy across my Azure, and you are the one who is going to implement it technically. So we are going to learn the technical part, and I'll also explain you like what are the available policies we have, so you can guide your management and your business decision makers to what the kind of capabilities in policies we have. And then, of course, we are done with this course. So after completing all these modules, we are going to be done with this course, and the course will be completed. So that's all from the course content, guys. So do we have any question or concern or any query?
Uh, One quick question, Manish.
Mhm.
Are you going to teach this migration from on-prem to cloud, database migration?
Uh, Actually, we don't. No, this is not going to be covered because we don't have the on-premises environment. As you know, like on-premises environment nowadays is not available. So we are not going to cover that. But if at the end of the training, if the time allows, I can explain you the Azure part of the migration. So like you already have understanding of your on-premises. So when
Yeah.
we are going to move from the on-premises to the Azure, then there is a service which we use that is called Azure Migrate. Okay. So how the Azure Migrate works, that is what I can explain to you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, guys? Any more queries about the content?
Manish,
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you an heads up. Like, I'm pretty much flexible in terms of this course completion. It's not like that. It should be completed, and all these modules should be covered in this particular time. But we need a detailed understanding, no matter like if it exceed like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm flexible for that.
Mhm. Yeah, thanks, Hasib. Thanks a lot for this, for updating me about it. Yes, of course. Let me assure you, like there is nothing like I am in hurry to complete the course. First thing, of course, whatever the topic we are going to start, we are going to take a good time to learn about it. And even if, as I told you, Azure is a very, technology kind of technology, which has very frequent changes and which has very frequent updates. Every day, I would say hundreds of changes being made in the Azure by the Microsoft. Lots of other things where Microsoft keeps adding. So this is the content, this is the roadmap which we are going to follow. But let's say if I'm explaining and if I'm training you about the virtual network, I'm giving you an example. Okay. And if we found something new, which Microsoft has introduced, then we are going to learn that part as well. So if it is related to the virtual network, so whatever the topic we are going to learn, if during the learning of topic, if I figured out or if I came to know like, okay, Microsoft has launched a new feature or Microsoft had added something or removed something, then we are also going to have a discussion on that. Okay, so do not worry about the time. We are absolutely not in hurry. The focus always is here to give you guys the more and more understanding. a kind of understanding which basically being used in an enterprise and real time environment. Okay, so anybody else has a question?
Yeah, man. So I was starting the career like MS SQL DBA. So it is better to learn for my career growth this way. I mean, as admin.
Yes. If to okay, it's a very good question, size. If you are, I would say, expecting to work in an infrastructure support, operation, and solution architect. Okay, there are three. When we come to the infrastructure, there are basically three major environments we have: infrastructure support, infrastructure operations, and infrastructure solutioning. Azure and cloud is a must knowledge. Cloud is something that you should really learn because this is what your resume should say. You have a cloud understanding. So cloud is one of the important piece of the resume, I would say nowadays. In cloud, when you are going to learn, so this is the point where we should start this. And I'm not saying this is the end of the Azure and you will know everything in the Azure after completing this course. Absolutely not, because this is just the beginning. But yes, if you keep your consistent learning with this module or with this course, then I'm sure at the end of the course, you will have more and better understanding as an admin, which is absolutely going to be helpful in your career.
And one more, actually in MS SQL we don't have any like code. So go always it will go for GUI mostly. So I not like to learn code in my career. Uh, so here also any coding will be there.
No,
Go for GUI.
we
Yeah.
do not have the code here, but we are not only going to learn the GUI, we are also going to learn the CLI, which is command line interface or PowerShell. I mean, not in detail, but I will explain you guys how to use the PowerShell and Azure CLI when it comes to deal with the because in real environment you also have good understanding of the CLI, which is command line interface. So I will explain you guys how we can use the CLI to interact with the Azure. Okay, so anything else, guys? Any question about the content? Okay, so now I'm just going to take time, I'm just going to explain you guys something which is, I would say it's a kind of overview, and it is a kind of picture which we all need to understand when we come to the infrastructure. Okay, so that is important, and then we can wrap up the session for today. Okay, so when we hear the infrastructure, okay, what comes into our mind? This is what we need to understand. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a diagram where I'm going to explain you like what is cloud, what is on-prem. You must have heard that. Okay, so let's understand this part. When the IT started, okay, everything in the when a company started, right? What happened? Like every company is used to have a physical data center. Every company used to have a physical data center, right? Physical data center means a dedicated physical space in your office, a dedicated allotted physical space in your office, which you call server room, which you call IT room, whatever you would like to call, it's up to you. Okay. But you need, so let's say I'm starting a company. So in earlier days, what I needed a physical data center, a physical dedicated space. Okay. Inside this data center, what we used to have power, cooling, and network. So these are the three important pieces we needed here because we need power to run this space. We need cooling because when we are going to deploy or set up the devices, they are going to generate a lot of heat. So the heat should not impact the devices. We should maintain the cooling. And then we are going to have a network because we have multiple devices we have. Okay. So in earlier days, we used to have a data center where we have multiple physical devices. Multiple physical devices means the hardware, the core hardware, we used to have it. Okay. So we have multiple physical devices are basically set up and installed inside our data center. In earlier days. Okay. And I would say that is physical server, you can call it, right? Physical network settings. So we have multiple physical servers. We have network devices and we have storage devices. So these are basically physical. So whatever the IT equipment we have in those days, everything is a kind of special physical device, whether it is storage, whether it is a network, whether it is a server, everything is a physical, right? So what happens during those days, and these are the earlier days of the IT. So what a challenge a company has to face. The first challenge is company need a space. Second challenge is you need to maintain your own power, your own cooling, and your own network. Because if you do not manage your own power, cooling, and network, if anything gets wrong with this, then your entire data center is at risk. Okay. So you have a burden to maintain the power, cooling, and network. As a company, it is your responsibility to maintain your own data center, right? Then you have multiple physical devices as well. So let's say if you would like to start a new project, if you would like to start a new contract, and you need to start a new contract, to start a new services, you need to 5 more physical servers. So if you need 5 more physical servers, then you need to set up or accommodate all those 5 servers here into the physical data center, right? Plus, you need to wait for the order. Like you need to order the 5 physical servers. Then the vendor is going to take your order. Then it is going to deliver the hardware to your data center. When the hardware comes to your data center, you need an engineer to set up those machines, and then you are going to start working on those machines. So these are the challenges we have to face when it comes to the physical data center, right? Then we have a revolution come, a revolution come into the IT industry, and that name of the revolution is called virtualization. So what is virtualization? So virtualization, the concept of virtualization says use one physical device and then use the virtualization technology, which means what gets changed. So from this data center, still here we need a data center. We needed physical data center. That's not a problem. Okay. This is the part where we need to maintain. Still, this is something we need to maintain in both the data centers. In both the situation, we need to maintain that. But there is one thing which got changed, and that is called virtualization. So what exactly the virtualization did? So virtualization says instead of having multiple servers, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to deploy a heavy hardware. Instead of bringing or buying small hardwares, I'm going to deploy a heavy hardware here, like this. And inside this, okay, my battery is running slow, guys. Okay. So instead of purchasing one and setting up multiple physical servers. I'm not talking about the network and the storage device. As of now, I'm only talking about the servers. So the virtualization says I am going to have a big box here. It is also a hardware. That's not an issue. That's not a clarity. Okay. So this is also a hardware, but this is a big hardware. Instead of having multiple physical servers, so for example, in my data center, if I have, for example, 10 servers, right? So instead of setting up 10 different servers, I bought one big box. And that big box is going to have enough capacity, for example, combined capacity. So for example, it has 500 CPU and it has maybe 2000 GB of RAM. And let's say add storage as well. Let's say 5000 GB. So instead of buying smaller units of the physical devices, we bought one box of the heavy box devices. And then on top of this particular layer, what we did, we take a help of a application called hypervisor. We installed a hypervisor into that. So the job of the hypervisor is to interact with the physical box, right? Job of the hypervisor is to interact with the physical box. And on top of the hypervisor, we get a console. We get a console means we get a complete console here like this. And we have option to create multiple servers virtually. So here, hypervisor is talking to my hypervisor is talking to my hardware, and hypervisor is also allowing me to manage my virtual instances. So hypervisor is talking to my hardware. Hypervisor is also giving me a console, a simple common window, right? And it says, if you would like to set up your server, then you can set it up like this. Inside, these are the virtual servers. So basically the virtualization comes into the picture. And instead of, so for example, I need a 2 CPU and RAM, I need, for example, 8 GB, and disk, for example, I need 200 GB. Just an example. So you can use these resources or these hardware, which anyhow you need it here into the one virtual machine. In the similar way, you can create another one and you can create another one. So basically, whatever the capacity you have here, according to that capacity, you can set up that much of virtual machine. There is no limitation. So if you are going to create a virtual machine with one CPU every machine, then you can set up at least 500 CPU. If you are going to, so 500 virtual machine. If you're going to set up a virtual machine with like 4 CPU for every virtual machine, then you can prepare something around 4 divided by 50, maybe what is that? Somewhere around 50 or 50, around 50 you are going to have it. Okay, so it's up to like whatever the capacity you have. So what exactly changes here? From the physical server, we have started the virtual server. Now, the problem which we discussed here, like let's say you started a new project or contract where you need to order the physical server and the physical server is going to get delivered in your data center, then you need a person to set up that or assemble that physical server for you, and then you start your service. That problem gets solved here. You do not need to wait for the physical server. You already have, you just ordered this one big box. Whenever you need, you can create your server, and when the work is done, you can delete that server. The moment you're going to delete it, the server is going to get free and you are going to get here. you are going to utilize your CPU again. So if tomorrow I don't need to use the server, I will delete that server, and the two CPU and the 8 GB of RAM and the 200 GB of disk, that resource is again available to me here. I can use that. So that is the concept of virtualization, which means where we have the hardware, but we are using it in a way like we have a multiple virtual options as well. And another benefit of using the virtualization is that when you are going to have a start a new project, right? So here, let's say you ordered 5 physical server, which you got a new contract with another company, and you said like, okay, I need a 5 new server to start my contract. So you ordered your 5 servers. They are going to again take time to come, and you assemble it. But due to any reason, if that contract is no more available with the company lost the contract. So what is going to happen? The 5 servers which you have ordered is going to be waste, because you have ordered 5 servers for the new contract, and due to any reason the new contract is not continuing. So in that case, the order which you have made or which you have placed is going to be wasted. But here, in terms of virtual machine, let's say I created a virtual machine for a new project. Somehow I get the bad news like, okay, the contract is no more with the company. Then I can delete that 5 virtual server. That's it, because I do not need to place a new hardware for that. But yes, it also has few limitations. The limitation is here you also need to manage power, cooling, and network on your own. It is your problem to manage the power, cooling, and networking. If anything goes wrong with any of these things, your data center is at risk. Okay. Here it is your problem to keep monitoring the capacity here, because it is absolutely a one box. But you also need to be very much careful, like what is the capacity you have currently, so that you need to place a new big box in advance. So for example, you consumed all of the capacity here, then you cannot create any more server. You need another big box into your data center. Plus, it is a physical data center where you need to manage the security. Nobody should be able to enter into your data center. Nobody should be able to, walk inside the IT room or the server room. Otherwise, they can store some data or equipment. So maintaining the security and maintaining the data center is also your responsibility. Now, another revolution comes into the IT, and that revolution is called cloud. So what cloud? So from here, we get into another revolution, and that is called cloud. So what exactly changes from the virtualization to the cloud? That is what we are just going to quickly understand that. In the cloud, what happened basically? It happened like this. First thing, cloud says you do not. So, okay, just let's understand with a simple example. Cloud, in this, you have your own space. You have to purchase your space, or you have to rent your space, whatever it is, right? Now, think of a cloud as a hostel or a PG. So, let's say you started a job into a new city where you have never been. Okay, so for example, if I am in Delhi and I started a job in Pune, okay, Pune, I have never been to Pune. I don't have any, help in the Pune. I don't have anyone in the Pune. Okay, so I need to first arrange accommodation for me. Like I need a place where I'm going to live, right? Then I need a place where I'm going to eat, which means I need a kind of service where I can eat. I need where I can, clean my clothes, right? So these are the things. These are the basic services which I needed. Okay, so I have two options. Either I can go and buy my own space like, okay, let's go to the Pune and buy it's my own house. Okay, which I'm absolutely not going to do that, because I'm starting my journey there. And as of now, I don't have that option. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the help of hostel and PG. In the hostel and PG, the concept is like, you do not own the place. Somebody else is going to own the place. You do not own what exactly running inside or what is happening inside the place. You are a tenant. So I started my career, sorry, in the Pune, and I contacted one of the PG or one of the hostel. And I said, boss, I would like to stay at your place. They will say, okay, fine. You do one thing. You just register yourself as a tenant. You register yourself as a tenant with us. So I will say, okay, I'm going to register myself as a tenant with you guys. The first thing, I need to register myself as a tenant. So I am a tenant. Of course, when I'm going to log in as a tenant, which means I need to provide my detail, like, okay, I am Manish, or I come from this city or that city, whatever it is. So I basically registered myself as a tenant. Then, of course, I need multiple services. So hostel says, okay, fine. Whatever the services you are going to use, I will do one thing for you as a tenant. I am going to create a subscription, which means I am going to create a kind of account or open an account for you, and I'm going to call it as a subscription. I'm going to call it as a subscription. And I can have more than one subscription. So for example, as a tenant, first I registered myself, then I have a subscription. So for example, I said, okay, I would like to have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner at your end. So you said, okay, I'm going to create a food subscription, food services, right? A subscription for the food service, which means whatever you are going to eat from my hostel, I will charge you for that. So subscription is basically about how you are going to charge. So whatever the food you are going to eat from my end, I'm going to charge you for that. Then there is another subscription, I would say. Okay, I'm also going to take the services of, for example, gym services. So whatever you are going to the gym, and whatever the time I'm going to spend in the gym, right? They are going to, I have to pay for that. That is called subscription based model. Now just replicate the same example into the IT. What is that? In the IT, instead of having your own space, what is going to happen? The same thing which we have, bring it here with more capacity. So with more capacity, there is a data center which is managed by the Microsoft or the Amazon. So Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, these are the companies which says data center I am going to manage. You do not have to talk about the data center. You do not have to maintain your own data center. It is something I am going to manage, which means the space which I am looking is going to manage by these people. And inside the space, they have lots of their computing capacity. And as a tenant, we are a tenant, okay? As a tenant, I am going to register myself with them. And then I'm going to use the services in a virtual manner, because we are using the hypervisor. So if I need to create a virtual machine, I can create inside this. If I need to create a database, I can create here. If I need to create a firewall, I can create here. So whatever the services, so that is VM, that is DB. It's up to me what services I would like to use. Okay, that is firewall. All services are available here. Storage, So only concept here is that you can use whatever you want to the services. Based on the services, whatever you are going to use, you have your subscription, and whatever you are going to use, Microsoft is going to charge you for that particular service. And the charge is going to happen for a per hour. So for example, if you have created a virtual machine and you are running it for 10 minutes, Microsoft is going to charge you for 1 hour. So the billing is going to happen like 1 hour, whether you are use it for 10 seconds, whether you use it for 10 minutes or 50 minutes, it's going to be monthly. So here the billing model is just monthly, pay as you go. Whatever you are using, you have to keep paying for that and you can keep using that. So here, if I am starting a company, a new company, I do not need to buy a space. I do not need to use anything. I do not need to set up a lot of equipments. I do not need to maintain power, cooling, and network. Okay, I do not need to maintain all these things. I simply need to go to a website and I need to register myself as a tenant. Then on that particular website, I can create whatever the services I want. And whatever the services I'm going to create, I need to pay for that. And all those services are basically getting created in the hardware, which is not visible to us. And that is what we call it as a cloud data center. So this is the data center which is managed at the Microsoft Cloud Data Center. So the difference from here to here is here we have our own data center, but here we do not have our own data center. I can start my company, I can start my IT services quickly. I do not need to worry about like, okay, I need to purchase a space or I need to purchase a kind of equipment first. I do not need to do any of these things. I simply come here and I can start my services. That's it. That's how easy it has become. So this is just the overall understanding of the infrastructure, guys. Whether it is like how the infrastructure revolution has come, and now we are learning the cloud. So of course, when it comes to the cloud, so there are a lot of things to learn here. So we'll discuss in our next class, or we'll continue the discussion in the next class. There are a few more things which I would like to tell you on this, but this is how just the overview of the infrastructure. So is it clear, guys? Is it clear, making sense?
Yes, Manish.
Okay, so if we don't have any query or question, then we are good to wrap up the call for today. And we'll see how, if you guys are interested to start the class, then most probably we can start the class from tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, Manish.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you, Ajay. Bye.